Welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this very easy dress. I can go ahead and trace it on this fabric, but people always complain that because Akara fabric, all the patterns on it, it makes it not visible. So I'm actually going to start with the top pattern. So I'm going to just trace it on a paper and then retrace it on my fabric, right? But basically all you have to do, like as you can see here, I already folded the fabric I was going to use to cut the top part into two, you see. So my fabric is actually folded into two this way, and then you're going to add extra 4 inches allowance to it. So your bust measurement divided by 4 for me, which is 10.5 plus extra 4 inches, that's what I have here as the width. And then the length is basically where you want your top to be, which, like I'm going to state here now, my top is starting at 5.5, and then you're going to mark it to where you want the waist to be. That's basically how you're going to, that's how I have my length here, plus your half an inch of seam allowance for joining the bottom. So guys, basically I've gone ahead and marked my lines. So my top is starting at 6, and then I have my from the shoulder to the nipple, and then the shoulder to the under bust, shoulder to the waist. So this is basically my starting point is at 6, and then I have my shoulder to nipple is at 12, the shoulder to the under bust is at 15.5, and the shoulder to waist is at 17.5. That's the lines that you're seeing here. So now the next thing I have to do is to come to this one here, which is the nipple line. Let me just write it: N, under bust, and then waist, and then this is just the starting line. So the first thing I'm going to do is on this nipple line, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple by 2 and add half an inch there. This half an inch is going to serve like a seam allowance for this on this side. So then I'll come down to this lower line. I'm going to just take away the half an inch and just mark the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is just 4. And then come here, also mark it just the 4 inches. Take it up here again. I'm going to mark the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half, right? So what I did here is I marked nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch. The same thing on this line, but on these two lines I subtracted the half an inch, right? So now the next thing I have to do is just to connect it with a ruler, and then connect this one out here with these two first, because they are the same, and then I'm going to connect it in an angle towards this one here. So once you've done that, the next thing you have to do, if you're more I'm going to just go ahead and start inserting my that. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use 1.5 here. You can use 2 inches if you want for the bustier. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1.5 here. That's from this line out, and then I'm also going to go ahead and mark 1.5 here also, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and connect the two together. Sorry, connect the two lines together, and then once you do that, you're going to come down on this particular nipple, this line here, from this point to 1 inch down, which will be somewhere here, and then you're going to give it a curve like this. If you want, you can use your curve to just give it the curve for the bust this way, right? So this is going to be the curve for the bust. I hope you guys can see. So now the next thing I have to do is just to go up to this beginning, the chest, this upper line here. I'm going to just go ahead and insert my dart here also. On the outer line, I'm going to mark 1 inch. And then on the inner line here, I'm going to mark 0.75, right? And then I'm going to connect the two down here, 1 inch again before the 1 inch again before this nipple line. This one also stops 1 inch before the nipple line. So now I'm just going to blend it into this line this way. And then I'm also going to blend this 1 inch on this side into this, and then that's basically it. So all I have to do now is just to go ahead and start to insert my measurements here. So what I'm going to do is place back my tape again. Now I'm trying to get my chest line, which is going to be my armhole line. So people will just go down 2 inches here, or what I like to do is just to measure where my armhole would normally be. like my armhole divided by 2 would have given me about, maybe come down here up to 10 inches or so. So what I would do is just go up 1 inch there, because I don't want to have like, let's say my armhole divided by 2 would have given me by here at 9, right? Because remember, you come down 1 inch of shoulder slope, it would have stopped somewhere at 9 here. So I'm going to, instead of using that, I like to go up 1 inch, so that, you know, if you, because there will not be any sleeve here. If I use my original armhole, I might end up having some fat, like some flesh showing under your armpits, right? So just to get all the coverage I need, because this is a tube top, and also prevent it from digging in, I'll go up by 1 inch. And if I do that, you see I still have just 2 inches below this line. So you see it's just here, because my top is starting here, I still have like 1 and 2, so it's just 2 inches below the line is where I'll have my armhole, my chest line. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that line out. And then the next thing I have to do is just to give it a curve, right? So you can just go ahead and mark your nipple to your bust measurement divided by 4, which is somewhere here for me, because the bust I'm working with is 42. I've marked it. And then from that line, I'm just going to blend it in form of a curve here. You can just use your free hand to draw it. It doesn't matter. Just so that you can get like a curve. Just connect this line to this point here, right? From here to that point, the end of this to this point, right? And then for the neckline, you place back your tape again at where you want it to start, which is 6. And then you're going to check where you want the deep V to be. You can be 9, it can be 8 if you want to show cleavage. No matter how deep you want, just mark it. So I did 2 inches down, which is 8 inches also. And then I'm going to just connect it. So this is my sweetheart neckline now, right? This is my sweetheart neckline. And then all I have to do now is just to go ahead and start inserting my measurement. The darting and everything is ready. So now to put in all our measurements together, what we are going to do is, like we've already done here, bust divided by 4, which is 10.5 for me. I'm going to take whatever measurements I have in between here, which is about 1.5 or so. And then I'm going to replace it, and then add 2 inches of sewing allowance, right? And then the next thing I have to do is come down to the waist, divide it by 4. The waist I'm working with is 34. Divided by 4 is 8.5. And then I'm going to put back this 1.5 inch or 2 inches, anyone that you use, replace it, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2 inches of sewing allowance. And then all I have to do now is just to connect these 2 lines together. You know, this is going to be my seam allowance here, right? And this is now the beginning of my top here. So now I'm going to just go ahead now and start cutting. So this is basically my bustier. So all I have to do now is just to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it so you guys will see. So guys, this is it here. So first thing you cut out is the armhole part here. I cut that out. Then you go ahead and cut this inner part here. Remove the angle in between. And then you also go ahead and cut this bottom part all the way up this way. And then cut the V neckline. So that's basically everything that I took out from this. And then you're left with the bodice, right? So basically you're going to cut this one on a fold. This part here is going to be on a fold, right? This angle here, we're going to be cutting this part here on a fold, and then we're going to have 2 of this one. So now we're going to move over to the back panel. So guys, you see I've gone ahead and marked 1.5 for the zipper, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is, guys, just go ahead, place your tape again. Like, remember what I said, my top is starting at 5.5. My armhole normally is 9, but I came up half an inch above it, so which is here. This is now my new, you need to use the same side measurements as you used for the front, right? So this is where my top would start again, my armhole line. So now I'm going to just rule it across this way. So I'm going to also mark it again at 8.5, this same part here, and then rule a line across, because the back is just going to be straight, because this is like a tube top, right? So this is now where my top is starting at the back. Now the next thing we have to do is just to mark our your nipple to nipple divided by 2, right? Mark that here. So for me that's 4 inches. Mark it here. and then I'm going to just also mark it again here, 4 inches. That's 4 inches after my zipper allowance, right? And then I'm going to connect it all the way here, and then this is now my new chest line, and then I'm going to mark half an inch on this side. This is just a basic dart, half an inch on the other side. You see, this is the center line, half an inch this side, half an inch the other side, right? And then this is basically my dart. So all I have to do now is just to come up here. All my measurements in front are starting on this line after my zipper. Come up here, mark my bust divided by 4, which is 10.5, right? And then add 2 inches of sewing it. Come down to the waist, mark my waist divided by 4, which is 8.5. 1 inch of darting, which I'm going to mark the dart. Or if you're going to be cutting it off, you just go ahead. You're going to just take these darts here, insert it back, which is 1 inch of darting, and then 2 inches of sewing. That's basically all you have to do. So you're going to go ahead and connect from here to here, and that's basically it. So all I'm going to cut out now is just to go from this point, and then I'm going to take it all the way straight across, because the back is going to be looking this way, straight across this way, and then split it open because of the zipper that is going to be at the center. And then I'm going to also cut off this side to shape it, right? Guys, like I said, if I want, I can cut this part out. If I want, I can just trace it this way. You understand? If I want, I'll just pin it like a dart, normally how you would do it. But then to help my zip relax better, another thing we are going to do is come up here by 1 inch at the back. This is the lower back. Go up 1 inch, right? And then you're going to blend it into the side this way. So I'm going to just blend it into the side. This will help my zip to relax it better. Blend it into the side and then cut it out. So guys, now we have our basic bodice. So all you have to do is just to go ahead and join them together. So guys, this is it here. You see what mine looks like. So I'm going to trace this out on the pattern, on a lining, right? And then this is the front. So guys, you see, you're going to trace everything exactly how the paper is. If I used my fabric, it would have been the shape of this paper. There's no extra seam allowance on the edges, you see. Everything is exactly the same size as this paper, right? Because this is something I could have done on the fabric. So there's no need to add seam allowance because we've already done that. And so now to cut the skirt part, guys, it's just basically a skirt pattern that we're trying to trace out here. So you see, this is my fabric that I'm using for it. And then this part here is going to be my waist. So the length here, you're just going to go ahead and calculate your full length, right? So your shoulder to where you want it to be. Remember, this is actually long, but mine is going to just be below my knee. So the length I have here plus my seam allowance is about 28. So basically, you're going to measure whatever you want the length to be. So let's say you're working with 42. You're going to subtract your half length. Let's say your half length is 17. Whatever you get when you subtract this, right? So let's say you get about 20, whatever you get is going to be the length. You're going to add 1.5 to it and use it as your sewing allowance, right? So let's say you get 25, you're going to add 1.5 to it, 1 inch of folding the edge and half an inch of joining the top. So basically, let's go ahead and cut this. So come up to the waist, divide your waist by 4. So the width I have here again is my hip, which is the widest part of my lower body, divided by 4 plus extra 1 inch of sewing it. So my hip is 48, divided by 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. That's the width. And then the back has about 1.5 for the zipper again. So now you're going to go up to the waist. We're cutting both the waist, the front and the back together. So waist measurement divided by 4, 8.5. Add 2 inches, 1 inch of darting and 1 inch of side seam allowance. Then the next thing is going to be to mark from your waist to your hip. For me, that's 10 inches. For some people, it's 9. A smaller person, it can be 9, it can be 8. But for me, it's 10. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, so connect it, my hip divided by 4, plus 1 inch of sewing. Now connect from here to that point. Then down here, because this is a longer pencil skirt, I'm going to do because the same measurement I have by my hip is what I have here. So instead of taking, normally on a pencil skirt, I would have taken away, remove 1 inch from here. So I'm going to do remove 1.5 from the end here to make it narrower, right? And then I'm going to take it up all the way. So I'm just going to mark it from here to that point. And then I'm going to just go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to cut from here all the way up to the top. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to split the back open, because we're going to have 2 back panels, right? Split it open, and then I'm going to insert my dart. So basically my dart is still my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 8. So I'm going to divide it by 2, which is 4. My dart is going to stop 2 inches before my hip. My hip is at 10. 2 inches before that is at 8, right? So I'm going to connect a straight line down here, and then mark half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side, and then connect it this way. So this is basically what my dart is going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and notch it on the 4 layers, because I'm going to be making this dart on the 2 sides of the front and 2 sides of the back. So that's basically it for the lower part. So all I have to do is just to go ahead and take my skirt, and then I'm going to join it, right? I'm going to join it to the sides this way, join this side to this side, and then I'm also going to join this side to this side, and then trace out my parts, the tops on lining, and then I'll bring it back so you guys will see. So guys, this is the back, right? I've already sewn it with lining, and then I picked my dart. So this is the center back, right? So I'm going to set it aside so that we can focus on the sleeve. So basically the sleeve, this is one side. I've already done this one. So basically what I did here is to, if you look at the picture, you find that the sleeve didn't it didn't start the ruffle didn't start exactly at the end. It started at least, let's say, 2 inches before, so that you can take away half an inch and you'll be left with 1.5, right? Because you need that half an inch to insert it inside of this, right? So, and then you'll be left with at least 1.5 before where the ruffle starts and goes up and towards the back, right? So basically what I did is I just cut strap that is long enough, right? And then I came up here by 2 inches, and then I started putting in the ruffle in between, and just pleat it as you go. Just keep on folding your fabric and pleat as you go. And then one thing I did is that I remember that I want my top to start at 6, right? So what I did is that I just made sure that from where the ruffle is to where the ruffle ended can contain the 6 inches in front and the 6 inches at the back, right? So that's going to give me at least 12 inches from here to here. And then I left extra strap, because the back, I can't determine the whole length of the sleeve, because remember, we reduced the back length, right? The bodies of the back and the front, they are not the same. We reduced the back by at least 2 inches because we cut it right from where the armhole starts, right? So that's why I left this much of it, which I know I'll not even use the rest. So once I wear it, I can always go ahead and pin it up. But if you can calculate it, the 2 inches of the where your top starts, calculate for the front and the back, add it together. Your top starts at 6, I calculate 6 in front, 6 at the back, and then plus the extra 2 inches that you stepped down on the back from the armhole that you cut off, you add that one also. That's 14 already for the length of the strap. So you can always calculate it if you want it to insert inside, but I want it to be really fitted. So I don't want to, I will only insert the one in front. That one is definite, because I can always do that. But the one for the back, I want to just be sure, like I want to be able to adjust it, is what I'm trying to say. So basically this is one side. So the second side is going to be this here. So let me tell you the width of the fabric I'm working with, right? So what I have here is 1 inch of folding the edge. As you can see, this one I already folded the edge, and then what I'm left with is about 3.5, and which half an inch of this is still going to go into the flap. So basically what I have is about 4.5 inches. That's what I cut out originally, right? Because as you can see, I've already gone ahead and folded the edge here, and I'm still left with, and to fold the edge you need 1 inch. So if I'm still left with about 3.5, that means I started out with 4.5, right? So now what I did for this one was just to fold it into 2 this way, tuck in half an inch here, tuck in half an inch on this other end here, and then I take this here. But make sure that you've already sewn the edge close, because you see this part also needs to be sewn, right? So this square, this 4 corners, sew it, and then you put it in between. Remember to go up 2 inches above, right? and then you go ahead and you just start pleating as you're sewing, right? But make sure that your ruffle doesn't go all the way through the length. Calculate where your top started and where you started, because like I said, mine started at 6. The body started at 6 because it's almost like an off, you're cutting it almost like an off shoulder. So I calculated that 6 for the front and then 6 for the back. So that means 12 inches of width is where this ruffle will fall in. So I'm just going to go ahead now and put in this one also. Once I do that, and then I have my 2 sides. So guys, this is it here. Like I said, I insert this inside of the lining for a clean finish. Guys, you can also do the same thing for the back. The reason mine is not like that is because I just want to be accurate with my sleeve length, right? So now that I've finished it, all I have to do is just to place it in this way. And like I said, all I have to do is just to sew it. This time around, I'm just going to sew it on top instead of having it inside the lining like the front. But with the back, I can get away with just sewing it down. So I've measured where it would be. As you can see, I marked it on my tape, and the total of my sleeve length is actually, that's if I count if you don't count the seam allowance. So what I have is actually 14, right? What I have is actually 14 from where the chalk mark is to where it inserts in front. So 14 is actually what I'm using. So now what I'm going to do is just to take it in this way, and then I'm going to sew it down here. And then the same thing goes for this one also. Take it in this way and sew it down. So guys, once I finish that, you see I've already inserted my zip. I've joined the top and the bottom, and then this is the body of my dress here. You can make yours in form of a short dress, you can make it in form of a long dress. So this is what I'm working with here. So let me go ahead and insert mine, and then you guys will see what it looks like. So guys, this is basically it here. I've gone ahead, I've joined the strap, and this is it up to the bottom here. You see? So let me turn it around so you guys can see the back. So this is it here. So you see it also ends at least 1 inch before the end here. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.